Welcome to Vertical Football, and this is the Blue Box. Yeah, this is a show where we talk all things Chelsea. Yeah, and in this one, we just want to talk about the transfer strategy as Chelsea. Yeah, I think it's very obvious to everyone now that the transfer strategy at the club is changing already. The club is moving from the model of trying to sign young players under the age of 23 to now trying to find a balance of experience and young players. And I think that's something very, very beautiful. And I believe if we continue in that model, it is going to help us to get into the place where this club actually belongs to. Yeah, so there is no how we want to talk about the transfer strategy at Chelsea that we will not have to touch from where it started from. There used to be a model that we run this club in transfer under the old administration, but since these new guys took over the club, I think the ideology has changed. And basically what they did, to just reiterate, is they came into the club and they came up with the idea that they are going to be signing young talent under the age of 23 to form a young squad, and then over time they gel and they go on to have success. But what we have seen with that particular model now is, given the experience that we have had in the last 4 seasons or 4 years, I would say it actually did not work. I thought it was going to work because I believe it's kind of like an high risk, high reward. If it worked, everybody would have said, oh, this is genius. But unfortunately, it did not. So one of the reasons why we see that this thing did not work is, firstly, the inconsistency of having a very young squad. I think we suffered for that thing a whole lot of times, given the fact that you sometimes, speaking very specific, sometimes you are in a game and then you just have your team having possession of the game, being in control, dictating the pace and the rhythm of the game, and then you just get to one point in time and then boom, everybody just offs the light, and then the opponent comes into the game and they beat us that we can't come back into the game anymore. And even painting in broader brush is, broader stroke is, we get into moments, I think we have seen it 2 times in the last 4 seasons, that we are actual contenders, like we are challenging the person who is in the number 1 position in the league race, and then all of a sudden we just get to maybe like half of the season and boom, we are all out of the whole thing, and then we just start asking our question, what exactly is it that caused it? What exactly is it that made us come out of this race? Do we come up with an excuse like it's injury? But I think it's just one of those inconsistency that you find in a young squad, but it's just happening in a broader sense. We see it in the matches on a consistent basis, but I think it just shows up in the broader sense that we are chasing for something and then all of a sudden we can't get it. Yeah, and also the immaturity of the squad is something that I think they would have seen and say like, oh, this is not going to work, in the sense that you look at like last season, very terrible one, in the sense, looking at it from the perspective of why exactly is a club like Chelsea getting 10 red cards, maybe 9 or 10 red cards in a season. It's not something that you want to be hearing for a club in the caliber of Chelsea. Why? So I think the immaturity shows. And when you go and look at these red cards, these yellow cards that lead to the red card, you see that sometimes they are not even for footballing reason. They are not for footballing reason. And footballing, I basically mean maybe they foul a player. Is one guy just going to hit another guy on the face? Is one guy going there to say things that does not make sense to the referee, and then he puts himself in a yellow card, and then he goes on to foul, and then he gets the second one? Or a coach overdoing some things and then he get a red card for it? So you see the immaturity spanning all across the team. So I think that's one of the reasons also why this thing did not work. And lastly, I still also believe that the experience was a problem. When you are signing a young squad, you still need to find a balance of having experience into it. And that's one of the things that we struggled with in the last 4 seasons, is the fact that when push comes to shove, we don't have those personnel who can go into memory lane and look at patterns or things that, oh, at this point in time in my career, this and this and this and this and this that we did, and then we met ourselves in the pit. But as time goes on, we looked at this, we looked at this, we did this, and then we brought ourselves out of the pit. We didn't have that in the squad. And when you go to matches that we had in the Champions League specifically, like the PSG match, being 2-2 in the first leg in 70th minute, and then we just started to see the individual errors, the mistake from the whole club just crumbling and getting out to this point where we lost that game 5-2. And that's not even the big problem for me, because if you had a more balanced squad of where there is experience in it, you want to, we have gone past that level where we can't do comebacks. We do comebacks. We are Chelsea, for crying out loud. We have gotten into situations where people have written us off and things, but because of the mentality and the experience levels of the players that we have in the club, we still come back into games like that. And that particular one, but the point is, when you go back to look at that squad that played that particular match, who exactly is it that you want to point to and say, oh, this one has the experience? Oh, given the fact that, oh, we are 3 goals down, this guy has gone through this thing before, this one has gone through this before, this one has gone through something similar before. Oh, they have the mindset, they know what they did in that point in time to pull it off. They can still try it. There is nobody. So the immaturity, the inconsistency, and the lack of experience is something that actually scattered the whole plan of wanting to have a young squad. And when I was making my research over the years, one of the particular pattern that I have seen with BlueCo, which is one that I do not like, and I believe they should find a way to change that thing, is, and I formed this thing by myself. It's something that I spotted the pattern, and I'm like, maybe this is actually how these guys want to go about their own stuff. And it's basically BlueCo. I mean, the new management want to learn from their own mistakes. And that sounds like a very good thing. Yeah, honestly, it's a good thing where you want to be self-evaluating and self-reflecting and, oh, I've done this, I've done this. But the point is, there is a particular quote that I like to use even in my own personal life, and it's from Warren Buffett. It says, it is good to learn from your mistakes, but it is better and wiser to learn from the mistakes of others. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that Chelsea has been running away from, most especially under this particular model, because if you are coming into a club at the level of Chelsea, you basically, when you're analyzing and doing your survey, you basically be looking at other clubs, and when you want to form your own model, you be, what did this particular team do to get this? What did this particular team do that made them take long to get to success, or why they are not getting to success? So I think if they had done those particular things, maybe they would have even looked at a club like Arsenal, looking at the model that Arsenal used from 2004 to like 2018, when they started bringing the Unai Emery, the Arteta into the squad. Was Arsenal was basically wanting to play with a young squad, and we saw it. Those years were empty years for them. They didn't really win anything tangible in those years. So if the new management had looked at that particular thing and see, oh, somebody has tried this thing before and it did not work, maybe they would have, oh, maybe let's just find a way to tweak this thing, because we have seen somebody who has done it before and it did not work. And we are in the same league, we are using the same survey, we are using the same quantity of survey. So let's try and find a way to go about that. And also looking at it from the managerial point of view, or the management point of view, if they had looked at people like the owners that Liverpool had around, I think maybe 2009 or something, the Gillett or something, I can't remember their name. Those are the guys who had 2 different ideologies, one side, and they are trying to run the same club. And what you see in those points is complete chaos. And I think it's getting better now at Chelsea, but when those guys just came into the club, we started to see that conflict where BlueCo had their own ideology of how they wanted to run the club, get the best and the creme de la creme of the players, join them with a little bit of young players, and then go on to get success. But now you get into a period of Ed Bally, what they want is pure and ultimately youth to run the club. And you see 2 different ideology, but they are trying to work on the same thing, and that will always cause conflict. But I think now they are getting into a point where trying to align, trying to use the same eyes to see the thing and then move forward. Yeah, so I think one of the issues that they have struggled with, I think they should get better at that thing, is wanting to learn from their own mistakes. As much as it is good, you also want to be looking at what other people have done or what other people is doing that is not working, and make sure you are looking at yourself and, I hope I am not making the same mistake as these people. So you'll be in a faster position and you just keep on going on to do what you're doing. And now, let's talk about this new model that we are. Why the point is, why exactly are we going through this route? Yeah, I think first thing is the squad balance. Yeah, because when there's a particular show myself and Shegun actually did. If you have not seen it, you should try and see it. It's all about data. We were analyzing Premier League teams and their squad, the structure of their squad. One of the things that we saw when it got to Chelsea, firstly, the youngest squad in the league, and secondly is we saw Chelsea had a whole lot of youth, had a whole lot of players in their peak period, but they lacked experience and they lack veterans. And that thing is a very big problem because we tried to compare it to the well-to-do guys in the league. And when we're talking about the well-to-do guys in the league, currently, we're talking about the Liverpool, we're talking about the Manchester City, and we're talking about Arsenal. Yeah, those are the guys who are on top of the levels at their game. Though Liverpool had a bad last season, but when you look at the things that they have been doing in recent time, you know, okay, these are one of the most successful guys in recent time. What we saw with their squad is there is a balance between the three parts. You get at least 68 to 70 something percent of players in their peak period. That's players who are ready to go on to play games. And then you have 10% of youth, and then you have 20% of experience and veteran. But when it came to Chelsea part, what we saw was youth peak, no experience, no veteran. But now bringing in somebody like Ederson, bringing in somebody like Danny Welbeck, and then you have somebody like Sanchez and Tosin who is shifting into that zone. What you have is a balance of the experience, and then we are adding people like Morgan Rogers, you are adding Lacroix, you are adding more to players in their peak period, and then you are selling some of your youth and then putting somebody like Palestra, who I think for me is exceptional. So it's like finding the right balance of players in the youth in the peak period and also having the experience to form a good squad. So I think it will not be a surprise for us to see Chelsea trying to stretch their hand to achieve what these guys, the three guys that we have mentioned, Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, have achieved in recent time. I think it will not be a surprise to see us aiming to achieve something like that if we can set this model of our squad in the way we are setting it. And another thing is the standard. Yeah. When you look at young boys, and it's evident in our own life, as much as we are people who want to say, oh, we are disciplined, we are this, we are that, there are some standards that you might never be able to unlock if you don't see somebody setting them. Yeah, because people's standard rub off on us. Yeah, you work with some people and then you just find out this guy's work ethic is really, really mad. And then the things start rubbing off on you and you're like, I think if I add this particular thing into my life, I think I will get better on a daily basis. And then you find that if you start adding it, you start getting better on a daily basis. That's what people like Ederson and Welbeck bring into the squad. The standard in the dressing room, standard in the training ground, standard in the way they behave towards people. And that's why I like those two signings most especially. As much as we are not going to be seeing them ultimately playing in the squad on a regular basis, but you know that these are good human beings and these are top professionals that you can put young boys in charge, that you can put them in charge of young boys. So I think the standard is something that is very, very important. And I believe that's the reason why we are seeing the kind of signings that we are bringing into the squad. Yeah, and lastly, I think it's all about the experience. When we're looking at experience from the viewpoint or from the lens of somebody like Anderson, I think it's just incredible what we have gotten. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm very, very happy about the decision to bring somebody like Anderson into the club, because we have seen Chelsea a whole lot of times where we are going through bad patches and then we have nothing to fall back into. We don't have that guy or those guys who you can look at and then you're like, this guy actually have the experience bank, and when they go into that experience bank, they will bring something valuable that will be useful for us in the time of trouble currently. Because you want to be looking at Ederson's career talking from even his personal life. You saw his, and it's very, very sensitive talk. You see his dad having cancer, and then he still comes into the pitch of play and even in training, and then you are seeing him still putting his 100% on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. And that's one side. Even his wife coming out to speak to him. I read it in his book where he's letting us know that his wife is giving him a talk that he's not mentally available in the house. He's just there by his carcass is all they have, and then but you still see him finding a way to bring balance into his marital life and also still performing at the best level. And when you come on the pitch also, are you looking at a player who has lost the league twice to Liverpool by 2 points and 1 point, firstly in 2013-14 and then in 18-19? 1 point to Liverpool losing the league, 2 points to 1 point to Man City losing the league, 2 points to Man City also losing the same league. Or you want to talk about somebody who lost the Champions League final and then bounce back the second year to come and win it again. Or you want to talk about going down in Camp Nou and then coming to Anfield and then they are pulling up this thing back to get a win. So you want to look at a player who has gone through rough patches and has played thousands of minutes. Same thing with Danny Welbeck. So when push comes to shove and things are not going well, these are the guys that you can run to and you know, oh, they have something. Look at the situation we are in right now. What exactly is it that we can do? And they'll put everybody at ease. We have gone through this patch before. You guys should not be worried. Let's look at it. This is how we got into this. What were we doing wrong? All right, let's stop doing this. Let's pick up this and let's get out of this situation. It's easy to speak about by mouth, but to be honest, when you find experienced guys around, even in our personal life, we are very, very happy because we know when I go to this guy, at least there is a 50% to 60% chance that my problem is going to get solved. And that's what we get in bringing somebody like Welbeck and Ederson into the squad. And also, lastly, I would say the emotional support that they bring, because when you look at the track record of these guys, one thing that you find out is majority of what you hear people speak about them is the praises of them. And praises can be very, very surface level because you might just be good to one guy and they don't know the deep part of you. But the point is, when everybody is saying the same thing consistently about you, you want to know that there is some level of truth in that thing. And I think that's what we get in somebody like Welbeck. They are professionals. They are top and good guys, good human beings, magnet of people. And when you have a very young squad around, you want this kind of guy who can put these people in order. When things are not going well, they can be the shoulder to lean upon. They can even be acting as a therapy, like a therapist. I mean, like somebody who these guys are struggling with their playing career. They can come and talk. They can come and have discussions. Oh, this and this and this. This is what I'm looking at to do. This is the new level I'm looking at. And when these guys are even actively showing what they are teaching, even on the pitch, even in the dressing room, and even in their personal life, we will be rubbing off these things that these guys are bringing on these boys. So one of the things that I see is the brain of these guys that we are signing. As much as they will play, the main point is the brain of these guys. So I think this is my own viewpoint of the transfer strategy. Is all about shifting from inconsistency, shifting from lack of experience into finding the perfect model that can help us to gain success. I think that's basically what we are doing at this point in time. So, guys, these are my thoughts about the signing at Chelsea. I don't want to speak so much about the Lacroix and all of the other people because I know it's just a regular thing that we are supposed to be doing. But going over the board to sign the 35 and 36 years old, I think is something worth talking about. So, these are my thoughts about the transfer strategy. What are your thoughts? Please put it in the comment section. Let's discuss. This is the Blue Box brought to you by Vertical Football. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you have not done that. Till we see you some other time. Namaste.